Hi everyone, thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Shane Young from the Barnsley and Rotherham Chamber of Commerce. Today's webinar, titled Survived, Now Learn to Revive and Then Thrive, is being presented by Mike Brook of Brook Corporate Developments. Mike has over 40 years experience in working with businesses and has helped them change, adapt and grow. Mike is also chair of our training arm at the Chamber, which is Chamber Skills Solutions, and is a co-opted director of the Chamber itself. So before I pass on to Mike, I want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and we'll be sending it out to our network, and it'll be uploaded onto our website afterwards. All participants will be muted except for myself and Mike, but we want this to be as interactive and engaging as possible, and hopefully Mike's got a lot of content for you to ask questions on. So if you do have any questions, please raise your digital hand or pop it in the conversation chat box, and me and Mike will pick it up as we go, or we'll come back to them at the end. So I'll now pass over to Mike, who's going to get things started for us. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks a lot for that, Shane. I'll just share my screen so everybody's, hopefully you can all see that we've got the first slide, survived. Hopefully people have survived so far. What we're looking at is now how to revive and then thrive in your business going forward. Just on as a mean of introduction, we are looking at through the Chamber and through ourselves as part of a series of webinars. Any topics you'd like more information on, just send it through in kind of chat or mention it. I'm sure Shane will pick it up on that. In terms of etiquette, Shane's already said keep on mute. If you've got a question to raise your virtual hand. Don't wait while the end. I'm more than happy to take questions as we're going along. If you don't want to raise your hand, send it as a question in question and answer or chat. Shane will pick it up and answer it and ask it on your behalf. So what we're going to talk about is three stages that we've all been going through. First one is survive. I'm just going to gloss over because hopefully we've all done the things that we've got in there. Then I'm going to talk about how we revive from where we are and then eventually thrive. There will be a roundup at the end and chance for questions, but as I said before, if you've got any questions, anything as we go along, feel free to raise your hand and pick it up at the time. Just do a quick ask round on attitudes. Whose glass is half empty and whose is half full? Do we see things as an opportunity or a threat? So I'm just going to do a quick poll. Can people put thumbs up if we see it as glass half empty, and thumbs down if it's a threat? So everybody know how to do that virtually with your participants panel. So in your participants panel, there should be a little. Yeah, so Rebecca's got it. So Rebecca's thumbs up. Anybody else want to give us Sonia? Yeah, Carrie's thumbs up. So Frank, hands up. Yeah, so yeah, there should be thumbs as well. Anybody else want it? Yeah, Hannah's thumbs up. Alan's thumbs up. So yeah, Claire, we're all finding it now. Yeah, we've not got any Jessica's thumbs up. So we've not got anybody with a thumbs down so far. So it looks like we're all glass half full people. And so we're all getting ready to prepare for the new normal after this crisis is over. And it's going to give us an opportunity to change our business model. And at this point, normally I'm quite pleased with this cohort because we are positive, like myself, glass half full people. I normally ask a question at this point. We look at the FTSE and you look at where it is at the moment and what's happening with shares. So yeah, is it a good time to buy shares? And you see things have dropped from nearly 8,000 where they were before down to 5 and a bit. It's come back up to 6 and a bit now. Chances are we're going to get back up to 7.5, whatever, within the next 12 months. So it'd be a good time to invest. So by the same logic, you'd be talking about, is it a good time to grow, potentially take out the opposition, or sort of vertically integrate, horizontally integrate. So we've got a number of clients who are actually looking at that and looking at this as an opportunity. We look at this as a 2x2 matrix. You'll find that consultants always like 2x2 matrix. So we've got control and awareness. And the three phases that we're going through, we found ourselves at the beginning of the pandemic in kind of bottom left-hand corner. We've got low awareness of what was happening, low control what was happening. The first thing we need to do is get some awareness of what was happening. So we moved to high awareness, but we still weren't in control. And this is where we are now, so that we're looking at we've got the awareness, now let's put things in place and get some control back into what we're doing. Once we've got that control, the next bit is moving into the bottom right hand corner, which is counterintuitive. You might say, well, why would we have a lack of awareness? But it actually means that you're doing things unconsciously. You're doing it without thinking. You're actually doing the right things. You're in control, but you're not consciously aware of it all the time. You've just got the right controls in place. So I'm going to talk about survive, revive, and then thrive. Survive, hopefully, these are all things that you're already doing. And just a bit about my experience in the 2008 financial crash. I was a manufacturing advisory service diagnostician, and at that point you got many manufacturing companies that were out on their feet, didn't know which way to turn. A family-owned fabrication company, I'll not give you any names, but one example was they needed somebody to work with them who was experienced, dispassionate, could have empathy with their situation and help them through the crisis. Their situation was, dad was MD, mum was company secretary, daughter worked in the office, son-in-law was production manager, and I think they've got about 8 guys on the shop floor. They'd had 3 bad debts and 3 big customers gone belly up on them, no work, and a big VAT bill due. Manufacturing advisory service sent me in and said, will you have a word with them and sort them out? So I went in and I've got to help this business in what to do. So the first thing was to say, well, are you factoring your invoices? Yeah, we're factoring as invoices. All right, well, you should be insured for those invoices so that if anything's, if they've gone belly up, you should be able to claim on insurance for them. Oh, no, the factoring company won't take them on. So I jumped in with both feet and I said, didn't that tell you anything? And then I'd set off World War III. The guy's wife jumped down and said, I told you not to take it on. And I found myself in the middle of a marriage guidance session rather than a business recovery. But we helped them through the crisis. We talked to the VAT. I told him what to do. He wanted to employ a salesman. I said, no, employing people is the last thing you need to do. You need to get out. You need to do it. We need to restructure the business, make sure that we've got the right amount of work coming in and the right amount of people to do it. And we put together a skills matrix on what they need to keep. And I didn't look at that. I think we finished up having to get rid of about 4 on the shop floor. But I didn't look at that as losing 4 jobs. I looked at it as saving the 8 that were remaining. But it helped them through the crisis and they're still there now. I think those kind of same skills of being able to go in and look at a situation, look at what needs to be done, are going to be useful at this point. So in survival mode, cash is king. You've got to get some quick wins, generate some cash, get it in from government grants, benefits, debtors, get an overdraft if you can, stop unnecessary payments, outgoings, negotiate with your creditors, defer tax, defer rent, defer loan repayments where you can. Don't just do it, negotiate with them and establish a bit of a war chest, because that's what's going to see you through the survival phase. Furloughing non-essential staff where you've got no work for them. Bear in mind they can do training. So one of the things that when we've been talking about training courses for employees, we've had people come out, oh, we can't, the furloughed. One of the things that you can do while you're on furlough is actually train, and we've had some of the delegates have actually wanted to do some CPD whilst they're on furlough, so it's actually going to boost their employment opportunities when we get through the other side. So you can claim 80% of the wages. This is changing all the time. You can, but they can't do anything for the business that's going to be business development wise. You can top it up, but if you do top it up, consider the others who are working for the same pay. You do need to treat people equally, and what you'll find is that your actions now are going to build or destroy loyalty with your employees going forwards. But by the same token, you'll find out who your loyal staff are. The other thing you need to be doing, communication. You can't do too much of it at this stage. So communicate with your stakeholders in the business, employees, customers, suppliers, landlord, bank, others. So let them know what your plans are going forward. Let them know that you're still there. Let them know that you're being positive. So they're all the things that you should be doing. You're going to come out with a positive message, build good personal relationships, gain empathy with your customers and your suppliers. Look after your top repeat customers. What you need to do is confirm their long-term viability. You want to make sure that they're going to survive. Retaining them is a key. By the same token, picking up new customers wherever possible. But again, word of warning on that, beware their long-term stability issues. If they're changing supplier at this point in time, why are they doing it? So you all have to learn new skills and disciplines, as we all have done. So, you know, webinars, running webinars, digital, Zoom, we're all having to learn new skills and disciplines. And I think they'll all carry on after the crisis. So that's been a quick whistle-stop tour of survival. Hopefully we've all been doing them. Anything that I've mentioned in that first quick section that anybody didn't know about or wants to know more about or was doing or wasn't doing, anybody want to give us their quick experience of survival and getting to where we are so far? Right, I'll move on to what we set out to talk about, which is reviving. First thing is making sure we return to work safely. We follow the government guidance, so you know the 4 stages are work at home if you can. If you can't work at home, then make sure we've got appropriate separation in the workplace. If you can't ensure appropriate separation, we then put barriers in place. And if barriers aren't practical, then you resort to PPE. So they're the four stages that you go through with the safety side. You find that although the health and safety executive are being pragmatic at the moment, you've still got your legal duties as an employer. You've got to look after your employees and do your duty and care to them. So health and safety are taking into account practicalities. Things like first aid, controls, hygiene have all got to be in place. But like I said, they are taking a pragmatic view. So as long as you've got your trained first aider and somebody there who can ring for an ambulance, you've got your hygiene controls in place, you've done risk assessments, you've looked at what the requirements are. The health and safety executive are looking to help people rather than pull them up on it. Another thing to bear in mind is if your employees are still working at home, then you are responsible for their safety working at home. So we're not suggesting everybody's got to go out and do a risk assessment of all their employees' houses, but there is a simple risk assessment sheet that you can go through, get them to self risk assess and get a copy back in. So that'll then make sure that your carrying out your duty of care to your employees. So the next thing is, in the short term, is generating cash. So we return to work safely. What we need to do now is worry about the cash. So at this stage, I would say profit's a bonus. If you're making cash, then you're going to be able to survive. We've got clients who are very profitable, but if there's no cash, they'll not survive. By the same token, if you've got cash, you don't necessarily need the profit in the short term. But you know, let's get that cash in. Let's get that work. Let's get that war chest. So then we can start looking at establishing a new vision and mission. What's our long-term aim for the business and in life? So it gives you an opportunity to reevaluate what you guys want to do out of life. I put this up and I'd just like people to read what's on the screen at the moment, and it's an extract from Alice in Wonderland. And so, you know, would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? Well, it depends where you want to get to. Well, I don't care where. It don't matter which way you go. So that, you know, is a great statement for me, because if in your life or in your business you don't care where you want to get to, there's no point having a plan. But I would say most people, you know, want a plan, want to know where they're going to get to, and they're going to put something in place to help them get there. Another quote that I like to put up at this stage is about a strategy formulation process. Now this is, you know, planning's unnatural. It's much more fun to do something. And the best thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise, rather than being preceded by a period of worry and depression. So if we've got a plan, we can actually tell whether it's going on schedule or not. Whereas if we didn't have a plan, we wouldn't know whether we're going to succeed or fail. And so putting that plan in place gives us a route map, and we know whether we're actually going to get to, or whether we're on course to get to where we want to go. And that was Sir John Harvey Jones, and so that was one of his famous quotes about planning. So I'm going to go through what I would recommend, what I've always used as a strategy formulation process. Start off with that vision and mission. What do you want to do out of life? You know, what do you want your business to do? What's the future look like? What's good in 3 years' time? And then you need to understand your current state. So what are things like at the moment? Where are we now? And to do that, there's certain tools. And I'm going to come to these tools in more detail later on. But you do an external appraisal. So what's the external market like? And we use a thing called Porter. And I'm going to give us a few more details about Porter as we go on. We also need to do an internal appraisal. We're going to use a tool called McKinsey. And the McKinsey will give us our internal strengths and weaknesses. And if we do a gap analysis, then back to our vision and mission between what we've learned from the external world, what we've got inside our business, that's going to give us our opportunities and threats going forwards. So we've done a SWOT analysis. And then we're going to develop some strategic alternatives. So these are potential ways of achieving what we want out of life. And we then need to look at various other factors: political, economic, social, technical, environmental, legal, or PESTEL as it's called. So you look at how those would affect your potential plans. So we've got some potential options, and we need to evaluate and choose what they're going to do. That implies that we've got some criteria in our vision and mission. Our vision and mission may be that we're going to be the cheapest on the market, we're going to be the best quality, we're going to do the biggest or whatever. But it may well be that, you know, we're going to keep the manufacturing local, or we're going to outsource to China, or, you know, whatever. We've got some criteria in our vision and mission of what we're going to do going forward. But at the end of that, we'll choose one way forward and we'll come to some agreed objectives for ourselves personally and also the business. And that's where I think a lot of plans fall down, because that's where people get to. They forget about the next bit. And the next bit is the operational planning and implementation. And that breaks down into functional and individual plans. Who's going to do what, when, how, where, and what we're going to do. So we've gone from why we're actually doing it through to how we're going to do it, and down into individual what it is we're going to do. What's different about our business going forward? That what do I need to do tomorrow? What does each individual need to do tomorrow, the day after, that's going to contribute towards us achieving our vision and mission? Because if you don't break it down to that detail, it just stays as a plan. You need to know what you're going to do different, because if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same result. And there's a guy called, I'm not going to show his video on here, but we typically work with it, Simon Sinek, and you'll catch him on YouTube. And this is his big mantra: you do why first. Start with why are we doing it, then break down into how are you going to do it, and then the last thing is what it is you've got to do going forward. So the first thing is why are we doing it? We've all got these businesses, or we all do what we do, and we want to know why we're doing it. And just here pose some questions. Who are the stakeholders? What are their aspirations? So in a business, what do we mean by stakeholders? Not just the shareholders. We're looking at the bank, we're looking at the employees, we're looking at the customers. Everybody's got a stake in our business who we affect in some way. We look at what everybody's aspirations are. So you're trying to work with people and use the momentum that's there and doing something that stakeholders might be trying to resist. If they are trying to resist it, then let's put a strategy in place to get around that. So and try and use the energy positively. So establish where you want to go. Look at what the attitude towards risk and reward is. Some people, you built a war chest. What's the best way of using it? Some people, attitude to risk. Well, we'll put it on my second favourite at the Kempton Park on at 3:15. Other people, no, we're far more conservative than that with a small c. We want to keep it under the bed. It'll be safe there. So, what's your attitude towards risk and reward? And what are the money issues and restrictions? We'd all like to have a massive pot, unlimited pot, but there are some issues and restrictions, so we want to look at that. At the end of the day, we come with a vision, and when I say that is, what does good look like in 3 years' time? So if you imagine your life in 3 years' time, or your business in 3 years' time, what, if you were saying things would be good, what would it look like? And so that's the starting point from where we are. We're then going to come back and look at where we are now. Typically in a business, you're looking at turnover, nature, range, products and services, what markets are we in, end use, geographic, what routes to market have we got, who are the customers, the competition, what suppliers have we got, and at the end of the day, what profit are we making or expecting? We've got any processes or operations, technology, scale, the facilities that we've got. So all these things we've got in a melting pot of where we are at the moment. As I say, we've got tools, McKinsey, Porter, SWOT and Pestel that we're going to use to come up with our plan. Porter, I mentioned, I'm not going to go into it in any great detail, but this is the model. We've got 5 forces. We've got the power of the buyers, power of the suppliers. We've got threat of new people coming into the market, and we've got threat of substitution. So can somebody supersede our product or service in the practical sense that everybody will know about? if you manufactured television sets using cathode ray tubes, nobody has cathode ray television tubes anymore. We've all got flat screen LEDs. So that's what I mean by threat of substitution. Are we just making the best cathode ray television set in the world? Nobody's going to buy it because everybody's moved on. Technology's different. So we're going to gather information on each of those 5 forces, analyze the results, and formulate potential strategies based on what we find. The next one is we're looking at it. So that was looking at the external environment. We're looking at our internal environment, and it's a thing called the McKinsey 7S model. And there's a clue in the title. There's 7 things, and they all begin with S. So it's nice and easy to understand and remember. So you look around the outside, we'll look at the structure of our business, the systems that we've got, the style that we operate in our business, the staff that we've got, the skills and the strategy, and then all those interrelating to our shared values. So we'll look at, we gain our views on each one of those S's. We then look at a SWOT analysis. So all the internal stuffs, the strengths, the weaknesses from our McKinsey 7S drop in the top half. Our external stuff, our opportunities and threats will drop into the bottom half. Obviously the strengths and opportunities are the helpful, positive things. The weaknesses and threats are the harmful things that we need to take into account. This stage, I would say, exercise caution, because from whose perspective, as we said at the beginning, we've got people who are glass half full, people who are glass half empty. An opportunity to one person can be a threat to another. So just think about perspective on when you're looking at that. We then break it down into how we're going to do it. We want some top level emphasis, some favoured options and agreed goals. And after that, we're going to get some key actions for everybody. We look at factors that can affect our plan, as I said before: political, economic, social, technical, legal, environmental, pestle is the analysis that we do. We will finish up with something that, and this is a document that I like to use with clients. We actually use it ourselves, so that we start in the middle with what is our value proposition, what value are we delivering to the customer. We then look at what our customer segments are. So who are we creating that value for? We look at who our important customers are and what our typical customer is. We look at what our relationships are, how we get and keep our customers, what channels are we going to get to them from. The other way, in our supply chain, we look at our key partners. So what our key partners are going to help us deliver it. What are the key activities and what are the key resources that we need? Underpinning all that, we've got our revenue streams and cost structure. And obviously your revenue stream has got to be greater than your, more than cover your cost structure. So your cost is how you deliver it. The revenue stream is the money that you're going to get in for delivering your product or service. So we get to that stage and we've got our strategy in place. And if you go back to our strategy formulation process, we've dropped down through all that down to the end of the how stage. And this is where most people go wrong, because what they do, they get to that stage and then think, right, let's implement it. But then they don't take it to the next stage and establish what everybody's part in the organization is in delivering that plan. So we have to establish what we have to do differently to get there. What needs doing, who's responsible, what resources, skills are needed, what time scale should it be done in, how we're going to monitor it, and how we're going to measure how well we're doing. So we need to get people on board. We need a simple tool to communicate what we're going to do. And this is the main thing I find on why plans succeed or fail. It's getting everyone on the bus. So how do we get everyone on the bus so that we're all going in the same direction? We all want the same things. How do we get there? Tool that we've used, and a number of people might remember this from old Growth Accelerator days. It was a tool that was developed a number of years ago. We still use it, and we start off with 4 concentric circles. So where we are in the middle, and where we want to be in 3 years' time on the outside. And obviously from there, the 3 concentric rings outside the centre circle give us 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years going forward. We then put in our key issues that we've identified from the previous tools that we've used. So, and they go cut through the 3 years. So there are radials through the plan. And I typically start with turnover at 1 o'clock, work clockwise round until we get to profit at 11 o'clock. What we've found, we've done so well into 3 figures of these with different clients. Everyone's different, but they've all got turnover and profit in them. Some go a stage further, and after profit you can drop onto cash, and that might be more relevant at the moment. But we start off with turnover. We've got the key issues that are different for every business around the outside. And what we do, we identify our initial starting position, our benchmark in the middle, where we want to get to, our vision around the outside, and then we put the actions that we need to take along each of the axes. And we put intermediate targets in there where we want to get after year 1, year 2, and you know what we want to, we've got where we want to get to, and we just work back into the middle. What we need to do, position we need to be after year 2, position we need to be after year 1, if we're going to achieve our goal, our vision of where we want to get to. And from that, the vital few things that we need to do will drop out. I'm not going to go through an example at this point, but they do. So that's setting your long-term goal, where what's good's going to look like in 3 years' time. But that doesn't help us in the short to medium term. I'd suggest that we do the same thing for the next year. So rather than the next 3 years, we're actually doing the same thing for plus 3 months, plus 6 months, and plus 12 months. And again, we're going to start at turnover, but the sorts of things that we've been working with clients on, these are typical topics that have been working towards. Getting a strategic plan for recovery, looking at changes in the market, looking at customer expectations, looking at processes, looking at their people, resources and skills, the culture, HR requirements, health and safety, information technology, route to customer, customer priorities, marketing. So these are all things that people are taking into account now. They're the key issues over the next 12 months. We start off with where we are at the moment, where we want to get to in 12 months' time, what are the actions that we're going to take, and what are the intermediate targets along the way. The vital few things will drop out of that. So we need to make sure we've got our strategic plan. We need to look at what our customer expectations are. Typically, people are wanting to be more agile going forward, and we need to identify what the changes in market are going to be. It's giving people an opportunity to reset and to reset their business. Clients are looking and process mapping, capturing the knowledge that's in their business, and implementing lean operations, standardized work and balancing line. It's another tool is listening to the voice of the customer. What is the customer actually wanting at this point? And setting up your in-house operations to be agile and flexibility and pulling work through the system rather than trying to push it. This works whether you're a manufacturer or a service operation. Look at what your customers are wanting rather than what you're wanting to give them. We've worked with one client in particular who's gone back to work. They've looked at how they actually do things, looked at what the customer actually wants. They've brought back 25% of their employees and got 33% of the output that they were getting before. And that's what they're wanting to do now, is then build the rest of the organisations of taking people back, so that they can take back another 25%, get another 33% of the output, take back another 25%, get another 33% of the output. That means then when they're bringing the final 25% of people back, hopefully, they then need to grow by 33% to actually take up all the capacity that they've built in the organisation. So as we come back to the beginning, when we're looking at is it glass empty or glass full, they've looked at it as an opportunity to do exactly what we've said there. And I've unashamedly pinched the ops director's words that this was his opportunity to reset the business. And what they've done, they've moved into smaller batch sizes, do setup time reduction, U-shaped cells, and improve their productivity and throughput and value added per person per hour. Next bit is leadership, and I'm hoping I don't need to be preaching on this. We as leaders need to set the tone going back. You need to cut your cloth accordingly. Think about what you're taking out of the business at this point and what you seem to be taking out of the business. Don't turn up next week in a brand new Rover or whatever, Land Rover. Think about what it's going to look like. Make sure your company's got a stable base, so you've built up a war chest on the survival phase. Make sure you build on that stable base. Think about your gearing ratio as a business. So think about your own resources towards borrowings. If your profit covers your interest payments, lower gearing ratio can be more stable, and a higher gearing ratio can give you more returns, but is that what you want to be looking at this point in time? I would suggest it's in place going forward. So on leadership, be visible, calm, strong, decisive, and identify your loyal and like-minded employees to take forward and develop in your new setup. Set some smart objectives, get your management information in place. And in post-COVID times, we need to be mindful of the HR. Is there going to be enough work for everybody coming back? What do you need to do about that? They might need to make some hard decisions. Don't be frightened of making them, but make them in the right way and do the right things. Communicate, think about innovative solutions, think about practicalities of the situation, do things with consultation. So when you're talking to your employees, look for imaginative ways. My eldest son, his wife's been on maternity leave. Their company, she knows that they need to reduce headcount for a short amount of time. She's offered to take an extra 6 months unpaid maternity leave. That fits her circumstance. They might not have come to her and offered that, but she's gone to them and said, she don't mind, it works for her. So if you talk to people, talk about what they want to do, we find that there might be some innovative solutions out there just waiting for you to pick up on them. Put a proactive sales strategy together so that you can plan your sales growth, profile some targeted accounts, execute some account strategies, look after your profitable customers, and use your feedback to continuously improve your performance, drive accountability, and improve your revenue and margin growth. And that's the basis of what proactive selling should be. So hopefully, if we're doing the reviving topics, we should eventually come around to thrive. And that's where we're looking at evaluating what we do and improving and doing that unconsciously. We're not having to think all the time, what are we doing? How are we going to do it better next week? We're looking at some continuous improvement. I'd say in all types of organisations, there's a technique called 5S. And the first 4 S's are about improving things in the shop floor or in the workplace. The last S is sustaining. And that's where a lot of companies fall down because they don't sustain. It's flavour of the month. We do it for a time and then we forget about it. I spoke to one client who we were taking on who wanted to do a 5S, and I said, have you done 5S before? And he says, we've done 20S. And I looked at him with a puzzled look on my face and I said, how do you mean 20S? He says, we've done 4S 5 times. He says, because they've done the first 4, they've put things in place and not sustained it. And what he wanted to do was make sure that the improvements that they got were sustained. It weren't just flavour of the month. We wanted to do something and keep it in place going forward. So do 5S properly, not 20S. Look at world-class performance in terms of on time in full. Look at how we satisfy our customers, look at what their demands are, how we can do things on time, how we can be effective, how we can plan our sales and operations. And there's a technique again that I'm not going into any great detail, but Kano diagrams, looking at basics that we've got to put in place for our customers, and delighters, which are the things that are going to set us apart from our competitors. Implement Kaizen teams, so we're working with our employees looking for solutions, using all the brains that come into work, not just using them as a pair of hands and legs. Look at visual management. And poke-yoke is a Japanese term, but basically means making things idiot proof, so that everybody's going to do it the right way, and we put things in place to prevent them doing wrong. In the longer term, we're all going to change as a result of the crisis. We're all going to have to embrace change. It's an opportunity to establish new ways of working, and it's an opportunity to retrain our employees. We're going to have to plan for a new paradigm going forward. There's going to be opportunities to expand. Other competitors who are not going to have the foresight that we've got, there might be problems, might be opportunity to pick them up, might be suppliers, so we might be able to vertically integrate and get a supplier on board so we bring that service in our operation. Might be a customer that we could pick up. There might be difficulties in those organisations. It may well be the principals have just kind of had enough. This has been the final straw for them, and they might be looking at a retirement. So you can look at horizontal and vertical integration opportunities. There's grants and loans to improve your business. Look for them around from the Growth Hub, from Enterprise in Barnsley, from the Skills Bank, from Invest in Sheffield. Alan's on. Alan will be able to tell us things there. And there's also specific grants for COVID innovations if you're looking for opportunities. We've worked with clients who set up making face masks, PPE for the health service, visors, sanitizer products. So there's been opportunities out there to provide services in the current situation. One company we've been working with, they were doing 5 million turnover selling cleaning products. Last month I just got the figures through, they did 2 million turnover in that 1 month. So that's what effect it's had on them. They've had to gear up accordingly, doing all the things that we've just been talking through. So as a roundup, We've gone through from low control to high control. So we've gone from, low awareness through to high awareness. We've got the control, and we're looking at how we can get back into doing things automatically. We've talked about cash is king. We've talked about communication. We've talked about strategy and how you pull your strategy together as the first round of revival. We talked about returning to work safely, opportunity to reset the business, what our leadership actions should be, smart objectives and getting management information so you can manage people effectively. We've talked about post-COVID HR and post-COVID sales techniques. In Thrive, we're looking at going forward to evaluate and improve unconsciously and implementing your action plan. It's going to give you an opportunity to develop both your business and your individuals. As I said at the beginning, is your glass half full or is it half empty? How we're going to plan for that new paradigm and how we're going to use the things that we've talked about to enable us to get there. If I come back to our survive, revive, thrive phases and where we're using various tools. The first one was cash is king. One of the things to enable us to get back in control, get control of the cash, get the right communication out, get our plan in place, return to work safely, gives us our opportunity to reset the business. And this is where I feel most companies are now. From there, we need to make sure going forward, we've got our leadership, smart objectives and management information in place, get our post-COVID HR right, so we're doing the right things by our employees, get the sales, proactive sales in place, and then look at evaluating and improving what you're doing unconsciously. In and amongst this, help's available. There's more webinars planned through the chamber. Any suggestions? I'm not sure whether anybody's passed any through yet to Shane, but we're available for one-to-one chats as well. If anything that's happened today or anything that we've gone through today you'd like to know more about, it's been a whistle-stop tour. It's been a lot of things that we've thrown at you in this webinar. But I'm more than happy to have a 30-minute free video triage session to help people to move it forward. Opportunity to discuss individual situations and see how we can help. As I said before, we've got experience from previous crisis in 2008 where we helped clients, and we're using the same kind of technique and empathy and experience to help clients now. You'll also find that there's links with Chamber, Sheffield City Region Growth Hub, Skills Bank, various council and enterprise agencies, universities, funding agencies. Everybody's there, everybody's charged with trying to help businesses at this point in time. And you'll find people from our organisation we can help with HR, strategy, sales, finance, lean, computer systems and HR. So anything that any client needs we can help with. So we've got until 11 o'clock. I've flown through the materials, and I'd say now I'd throw it back open to you guys. From what we've talked about today, what are you going to do as a result of it? The whole purpose of putting on these webinars is that it inspires action, it inspires people to go away and actually do things. So as a result of what you've learned today, what are you guys going to do going forward? Can I just...
I think his screen might have frozen. We'll see if he comes back. I'll unmute you guys and we can just talk openly until Mike comes back. So unmute. So does anyone, oh, I think I've tried to unmute you. Does anyone want to kind of kick off the conversation? I know Mike's not here, the guy who's the expert, so to speak, but I think it's worthwhile us discussing, and we'll see if we can get Mike back. Did anyone pick up on any key areas or want to touch on anything?
Shane, I'm going to have to rush off because I've got another meeting at 11, but please tell Mike thank you very much, and it was really, really useful. Yeah. And I'll see you all later.
All right, thanks, Jessica.
Thanks.
Has anyone else got anything that they'd like to bring up in terms of what they're doing to get through this period in terms of the Revive process?
The only thing we're doing is we are trying to establish what the new normal is for us, because we have got no idea. We're in healthcare and we have got no idea what that's going to look like. So on a day-to-day basis, we change things to try and establish what our new normal working is going to be like.
Okay. And how's the things going at the minute, Andrea? How are you getting on with things? Have you seen things kind of dip off? Has there been challenging times?
Well, obviously we've been manically busy, but some of our core services that we run on a day-to-day basis that we would get paid for, we are unable to do those now. So we're trying to come up with new ideas on how we can carry those services on, but not actually bring patients in. So we're looking at drive-through situations and things that we can do outside. So we're trying to think of all sorts of things to establish what our new normal will be.
Yeah.
Difficult, because that obviously means finance in some situations will be gone as well. Because if we can't produce the service, we don't get paid for it.
Is anyone else in a similar boat where they've got to completely adapt? I know there's a lot of kind of driving options now, isn't there? And obviously everything's done virtually at the moment, but there is a lot of driving kind of services available. Mike, are you back with us as well?
Yeah, apologies for that. I think that was my internet dying. It's the first time it's done that while I've been doing one of these webinars, but apologies for that. My internet just went off, but yeah, hopefully back in the room now. So
we've just opened conversation really, Mike, at the end of the presentation really. So just trying to gauge people's reactions. I'm trying to pick up people a little bit just to open up and see where we go with it. Has anyone else got anything they'd like to share?
For me, Mike, it's just been a great reminder of everything that I learned in my leadership and management diploma, because all the tools that you've shared are all the tools that I studied to get my qualifications and I use with my coaching clients. So for me, it's just a reminder that sometimes we have everything under our nose. We need to bring them out to life. So thank you for that.
No, it's not rocket science. You know, it's good management techniques, and you know there always will be good management techniques. And what we found is that they work well in terms of helping clients to plan going forward. The tools are there, you know, and the benefits are there through having using them.
Mike, have you got any tips for sole traders, so companies, businesses who've not necessarily got a lot of staff and returning them to work safely, whereas sole traders seems to be a little bit different and they might feel a little bit isolated? We have brought this up before actually on other webinars, and I just wondered your take on it.
Yeah, still get the plan in place. You know, still work on, you know, what does good look like in 3 years' time. That is the thing. You know, think about 3 years, typical time scale. Where do you want to be in 3 years' time? And then come back, look at where you are now, put things in place to start working along. Even though all the actions might then fall to yourself, but you'll still have an action plan going forward of what you need to do. When you've got the 3-year plan, in these times, we do need to get that 1-year plan in more detail. So it's looking at where we are now, and how we're going to get back to some kind of normality. And off the top of my head, you know, when are we going to get back to normality? Realistically, I think we're going to be looking at say 12 months time. So get your 12-month recovery plan in action. So that is then going to be the things that you need to do to make sure you're in a position then to be able to go on and thrive after that first 12 months. But all the basic things are what you need to be doing now in the next 12 months. We're all kicking cans down the road at the moment, so people are, and part of what I've been advocating in the webinar is deferring your tax, deferring your rent, deferring your VAT and things like whatever you can to build your war chest. But the day is going to come when you've got to pay it back. And if you've got one of these bounce back loans or whatever, they're interest free at the moment, so a good thing. But come next April, May time, you're going to have to start paying them back or paying interest on them. And then, these are the time you're going to have to pay your tax about that time. You're going to have to, if you deferred your VAT and things like that. So next March, I think, is going to be a crunch time for people. So we've got to make sure that, we've got over this hump, and it's a bit like the sort of spikes on the coronavirus. We're going to get another spike in business early part of next year, when all the cans that we've kicked down the road, we come up to them again. And we're not necessarily going to be able to kick them down the road again. So plan to get over that and start planning for it now. Plan for how you're going to pay the tax. Plan for how you're going to pay the VAT. How you're going to pay your bounce back loan, so you're not paying the interest on it and things like that. So even if you're a small, one-man band, self-employed, you can still use those techniques. And think about the Alice in Wonderland quote that if you don't care where you're going, then don't bother with the plan. But if you know where you want to go, and I would suggest that most people are doing what they do for a reason. But we've all got this dream about kind of blue skies and calm sea and floating away and things just being no storms. Well, how are we going to get there? And we've got to navigate the waters and the storms to actually get into that calm water.
Thanks, Mike. And I appreciate in that presentation there was a lot of content, very relevant content, but there was a lot for everyone to digest within like 50 minutes really. Would you if I shared the slides as well out to the...
Yeah, more than happy, yeah.
Brilliant. So what we'll do, guys, because I'm conscious of time, we have had an hour. If there's no other questions or comments, what I'll do, I'll follow up an email afterwards, and thank you all for attending today's webinar, along with Mike's details and also the slides from the presentation. But just to let you know, we have got two important webinars coming up. One on Thursday this week, which is going to be based on health and safety and bringing and setting your workplace back up to make it more safe for people coming back into work, returning to work safely. And then we've also got one on the 16th, which is based on HR and the HR challenges that you as business owners will have. And also that's going to link into the furlough scheme as well, the job retention scheme, in terms of the changes from 1st of July. So please feel free to book onto those. Obviously, they're free of charge. But a big thank you to you all for taking part today, and a massive thanks to Mike for sharing his presentation. So thank you, everybody. We'll close.